let's go ahead and get started. I've still got some folks joining, but it's 1 after, so we'll get rolling here. And we're excited today. My name's Steve Bowles, and I'm the head of strategy and evangelism for Ephesoft. I've got John Andel, one of our solutions engineers who manages our SE group, that's going to show you some demonstrations as we talk about the future of IDP and universal document automation today. So if you're not familiar with Ephesoft, we're an IDP provider, been around for over 10 years, and we've got both on-prem and cloud-based solutions. Today we're going to show you our Semantik AI Engine, which is some really neat stuff that I've been asking for a long time, and I think you'll find it very interesting and find some really neat solutions that we can talk about today. So before we dive into the content, let's go ahead and get started with a poll. We'll have a couple different questions throughout the webinar here. So let's start with poll number 1. And the question is, could you improve your processes, enhance your customer experience, and/or respond to requests faster if you could access your document data faster? And we'll just let everyone answer here. Answers are coming in pretty slick, and I think by a huge margin, yes, by 100% is the top answer. And we'll share these with you with a follow-on email. I'll go ahead and end that poll and share the results so you can take a peek. Pretty obvious that everyone thinks they can take advantage of that data, that dark data that's sitting in documents. We'll go ahead and close out that poll. We'll get started. Oops. So everyone on the call, everybody's had experience with traditional intelligent document processing, and for the most part, it's a 3-part process, right? If you're familiar with any of the solutions out there, including Ephesoft, documents come in, they get classified, data gets extracted based on the type of document, and that data is handed to a workflow process, a bot, or a backend system, and it drives context, right? So you tell a workflow whether an invoice is above 50K or below 50K. So it goes through different approval processes, goes into a content management system for management and compliance and governance issues. We're all familiar with that, and it works, right? It's a traditional setup. If you look at the products, they're all set up very similarly. You figure out what type of documents you're processing. From those documents, you extract data that you need to accomplish your end goal, and then you configure it within the platform, right? Step by step. And if you look at Ephesoft, we've done it quite well. If you're not familiar with us, Transact is kind of our flagship product. It's a IDP workhorse. Does all kinds of things, very flexible, very customizable, and about 18 months ago, we started building the next generation platform to enhance Transact and improve our customer and our partners' capabilities to provide automation solutions. And that's Semantik. And we built out an AWS native platform, all the security plumbing, all the architecture to kind of harness our AI from our data science team. And we actually built a lighthouse application on that platform called Semantik Invoice. And essentially, Semantik Invoice would take in invoices, auto-extract data, and then provide that data to make it available via a webhook to a wide variety of platforms, workflow processes, and things like that. And our focus with Semantik was to build that platform foundation, and we really targeted day zero accuracy. So what does that mean? Before you even flip the switch, we wanted to provide unmatched accuracy with our technology, so you could immediately start recouping your investment on your Ephesoft investment. So we also wanted near zero configuration, and we started building kind of the roots for our AI engine. And eventually, we started building what we call Semantik AI, or the Semantik AI Engine, which we'll show you today. And that AI engine allows you to consume any document in any Latin language and extract data of interest without configuration. So John will actually give you an overview of that. And we're going to leverage it two ways in the product in our spring release that's coming out. So it'll be available very soon. And all of these things are building the next generation releases that you'll see over the next 6 months to a year with Transact. So it really, we took a shift in the way we think on this, and we're really trying to disrupt the way the IDP industry does business. And on the left, everybody's familiar, this is the way that IDP works in an organization or within partners. You bring in documents, just like I talked about, you know what they are, you know the data that you want. It's very static, very serial, very known. You know what you're getting, you know how you want to process it, and it's typically tied to a business process. Unfortunately, these can be fragile. Even with AI, you still got challenges when unknown document types come in, when maybe a form has changed. So you're dealing with government forms and they've got a new form where things have moved around a bit. Those processes can be fairly fragile, require a lot of maintenance, a lot of updates, and a lot of money to update and maintain. And everybody operates in this realm today. But what we did is we said, hey, what if we could ingest unknown document types? Okay, we have no idea what's coming in, and we got this feedback from our customers. They said, hey, we don't know what we're going to get, or we have a repository that has 1 million documents, and we have no idea what's in there. It's from a company we acquired. How can we solve that problem? So our data science team looked at it, and they created a really cool technology that we'll show you today that is cross-document, cross-language, and adaptive in nature. So with almost minimal configuration, a couple clicks of the button, you can start processing documents that you've never seen before and start gleaning information from those that you can use in your processes or in new use cases. So that brings us to the next case, the next poll question, which I'll go ahead and share here. Takes me a sec to get into the interface. Go ahead to poll question 2. Go ahead and launch that. So are there any processes in your organization where you know some of the documents, but you get in trailing documents, or you've got a mailroom operation where digital PDFs are coming in and you have no idea what a percentage of those would be? We're getting some great feedback here. Let it keep going. We'll go ahead and let it go. People are still answering. We'll end that, and I'll share the results. So it looks like overwhelmingly yes, there are processes, and that matches exactly the market research and the partner discussions that we've been having about this new technology. Go ahead and exit out here. So what we're really trying to achieve, if you look on the left-hand side, the current way our customers do business and our partners do business is with process-based intelligent document processing. They manually key information. They use templates, pattern matching. Maybe they have some static AI models that they've built for specific documents. What this new technology that we're going to show you today does is it lets us step across a line. And that line is kind of the bridge to what we call adaptive AI. So AI that'll let you step out of kind of this process ball and chain and really add new features and functionality to this processing capability to help you reduce the human in the loop, but also let you step into new ways of using our technology that let you do data projects where maybe you want to harvest just a ton of information from documents. Maybe you want to do business analytics, or you have a business intelligence project maybe you're a hospital that has lab reports and you want to extract the metadata, or a consumer products company that wants to extract information from very variable certificates of analysis. We'll give you the technology and the way to actually accomplish that through Semantik AI. So what is Semantik AI? This is not someone else's technology. We actually built this from scratch with our data science team. And essentially, it's a way to look at documents, it's a computer vision algorithm that looks at documents regardless of language and type and knows where the data of interest sits based on the machine learning that we've done in building these models. So essentially, it looks at documents just like a human. So you know from your experience, if I handed you a contract, a non-disclosure agreement, an email message, and I handed you an invoice, through your business experience, you would know how to look at that and go, oh, here's the information that I'm interested in as a business user, okay? So this works on vision, and then it extracts the data. So it identifies where that information is on the document, and then it goes and auto-extracts the key value pairs. And we've got some other ways we can extract data, which we'll talk about a little later in the presentation. So there's two ways that we're putting this into Transact. It'll be available in the spring release. The first way is what we call universal document automation. So essentially now in Transact, you'll have an unknown document type. So if something comes in and Transact can't classify it, it'll actually get tagged as an unknown document type. It'll go into the engine, and data of interest profiles will be extracted. So really quick and easy to set up. The cool part is that you can have both known document types and unknown document types exist within the same batch class. So imagine it just being kind of a catch-all bucket that'll catch all the documents that can't be identified, but still extract that really pertinent, important data and provide it to you. And we'll show you that as we get through my slides and show you the demo. The other way, and we're going to get a lot of applause from our partners and customers here, is what we call the Document Design Accelerator. So essentially, as you're building doc types, you can upload a form, the AI engine will process it, and auto-build key and value fields for you within the product. So what does that look like? Essentially, you can load up, in this case, I've got an Accord document. I drag and drop it into create document type from sample, and it auto-builds all the fields as well as the data type strings within Transact, and also builds rules. So you can pick and choose to use those rules or not, but those rules will be built for speed and give you the ability to tweak the results maybe as you process other forms or get new form types. Okay. So essentially AI-driven setup within the product. So the whole goal here, as I mentioned, is to solve the hard problems, the problems that customers and partners have been asking us to come up with a solution for years. And if I really broke it down into 4 buckets, and we'll show you these different demos as John comes on here in a second. The first one is exploration. So when you have documents of unknown type that you want to glean information from and extract data for use in analytics or AI or processes. So discover that document data, which is very opportunistic. The second one is really simple data extraction. Let's say you've got 5 types of forms. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you want to grab data that will be on every document, but you don't know all the variations. You can go ahead and really quickly set this up, extract that data, and then use it on the back end. The third one is what we call supporting or trailing documentation. Invoice comes in, you are getting a bill of lading, some trade information, but you don't know the format. you want to auto extract the data and map it to that invoice, you can do that with Semantik AI. And then lastly is the one that I talked about where you have a high number of documents, a high number of fields, or any combination of the two. Projects that may have been out of touch from a time and investment perspective. Now with a couple clicks, you can auto build those in Transact and really cut down your time. And John will talk about some of the time savings. He'll show you one of those setups here in a minute. Okay. So before we get to the demo, we'll do our last poll question here. So is this something that you're investing in or would be interested in? The reason I'm asking about this, I'll give you more information at the end. We have an early adopter program, a preview program that's underway right now, and we're looking for folks that want to bring this on to solve those complex problems. And it looks like 90% of the folks are interested in adopting this technology. That's fantastic. Okay, we'll exit that poll. Now we'll get to the fun part. So John, I'm gonna flip it over to you and let you show the fancy stuff.
Awesome, thanks, Steve. All right, excellent. So I'm excited to show everyone these new features live in action today. So the first example that I'd like to show is our document design accelerator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to build an Accord form. I'm going to build about 40 different fields with extraction rules in about 30 seconds. So this is our batch class management screen. I'm sure most of you on the call are familiar with this. You'll notice a new area down here where previously we only had 4 different areas. We now have this create document type from sample right in the middle. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to start by dragging a new sample into this. When I do that, I get a prompt to enter a doc type name and a description. So we'll just call this Accord 4. And now our Semantik engine is essentially doing the rest. So it's going to identify all of the fields on that document, build out extraction logic for it. And I'll show you that in a moment. The second thing that I want to do is also provide a blank sample just for classification purposes. So I'm going to drag that into our learn files area. So we'll learn that sample. And just like that, that was probably less than 30 seconds. But so now what we have is an Accord 4 document. And I'll expand this with, in this case, 43 different fields that it identified. And again, I could examine any of these. I could look at the different regex that it built out for me. I could add additional rules. As Steve mentioned, I can also delete anything or maybe clean up some fields that I don't want as part of that document. And so I can always come in here and also test this extraction just to make sure everything looks good. So I have a test file in here, and here are all the fields and the results that we have from that Accord 4. So even with a structured document like this, the time it would take to set up, 40 plus fields, probably at least a couple hours worth of work. And now using Semantik, that's been reduced to literally a matter of seconds. So that's our new document design accelerator feature. From here, we're going to jump into UDA, our universal document automation. And so I've got a couple batches and a couple of scenarios prepared for this. So the first one that I'm going to open up this is around that use case that Steve mentioned, where we have some shipping docs. So trade finance example, where we have some documents that we would expect, like a waybill, an invoice. But at times we're also going to receive some either trailing or supporting documents that, we're not quite sure what they are, but we still want to try to see if we can present any data that we find on them. So here I've got a batch of different documents that came in. So I was able to identify my waybill as expected here with the fields that we had set up, and then also our invoice. But you'll notice that we have a few other documents in this batch, all called universal. So I'll step through these just so you can get an idea of what Semantik AI can do. So here, this one is actually an Italian customs declaration document. So again, not a document that we were expecting, but still able to pull off, a good chunk of that data automatically. I'll jump down here. These are some certificate of origin documents that were included. So again, same concept applies. This is actually fairly poor quality as well, but again, not really too much of an issue here. This one picked up, names, addresses, all of that other information. And then our last one is another certificate of origin doc as well. So from here, we could push this through. And again, these will be exported just as they would any other document type. So you'll have the image and then you'll have the corresponding data file as well, assuming that you're using XML or JSON or one of our other export options. So this is a really nice way to really go after any data in those supporting or trailing or unknown documents that are included with documents that you are expecting. Our second scenario is going to really show you how we can perform this extraction on mixed languages, basically that simple data extraction case that Steve mentioned. So here I've got a few different invoices prepared. And again, all three are universal, but so we have a German invoice, again, with all the fields. So we didn't set up any of this. As a matter of fact, so I want to show you the batch class that was being used to process this one. So right here underneath our unit, we do have a universal doc type defined, but just a stop field, really just triggered for the sake of this webinar. So you can actually see this, because otherwise they would just go straight through to export. So this is the only field that we have defined in our batch class. So we found all these fields on this German invoice. Next one here, we have a Spanish invoice. And then lastly, a fairly poor quality Turkish invoice. So again, without any type of prior knowledge of what language we're expecting, Semantik AI is able to identify these and then process any data that it finds. All right, and then our last example here is going to be around that use case of exploration. So again, imagine maybe a company was acquired and the acquiring company wants to sort of examine what type of data is in all of these documents that they now have ownership of. So in this case, what I've done is put together some certificate of analysis documents. And these are obviously all different formats and layouts, et cetera. So what we want to do is use Semantik AI to process these and really just present any data that we can find on these. So I've thrown these already through the system just to avoid wait times. And let me minimize this and show you what the results would look like. So here we have an output folder. So we have our 7 different documents that it identified, and then we have our XML. And so this is essentially, the full dump of the data that we found on this. So we're going to tag everything. We're going to give it a name. We're going to give it confidence scores, coordinates. So again, we're going to structure this just in the same way that our batch XML file has always been structured. We're also going to call out the extraction process. So what's nice about this, you see SRE, key value extraction. That's our new plugin that's leveraging the Semantik AI technology. You can also use this with all of our other extraction methods as well. So this will now add a tag for what type of extraction was used. So now you can see we've got a nice long XML file of all of the data of interest from the 7 certificate of analysis. So I think obviously this is a little bit of a smaller sort of example for this webinar, but imagine maybe gigabytes of documents that you could just really upload to an Ephesoft Transact instance, let it kind of churn through all of that through that data, and then on the output side, you'll get a nice kind of coordinated, organized output of that data that it finds. So with that, that's the end of my examples for the webinar. So Steve, I'm going to stop my sharing and then turn it back over to you.
Great, John. Go ahead and do this. All right. So hopefully you like what you're seeing. I'm extremely excited about this, especially the new use cases that the technology opens up for customers to solve all different types of problems. A couple of the demos that John showed you were actually proof of concept demos that we worked up for some customers that we're looking at. But really, the only limit is your imagination here with what you can extract and how you can do it. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions. All right, we've got some some questions here. Anthony asks, can you scan content that hasn't had OCR? That's a great point, Anthony. I think one thing we need to emphasize is that you still have all the power that Transact brings to the table. So all the pre-processing, the ingestion, the image processing, the classification, the OCR, all those pieces are still leveraged, and as well as all the post-processing or post-data entry. So your data extraction, your validation, your ability to output and leverage all the outputs that we have. So the answer is yes. And the AI model is actually in some ways detached from OCR because it does the computer vision and then does the OCR for extraction. So the two work hand in hand. I have a question. Can it support the Vietnamese language? We don't have that support yet. Just currently it's Latin languages only. Let's see, Brian asked, do you have demos related to table data? Tables are not in the next release, but we do have a beta in our AI lab that's doing tables, and we're getting some great results with it. And if you want, talk to your partner manager or your account manager or contact us, and we can actually give you an overview of that and give you a link where you can test that out and play around with it. Have you used this technology with government agencies? Gary, one of the great things about the technology I've shown you is that it runs in the cloud and it also runs on premise. Our guys have figured out how to run the AI efficiently on-prem. So if you have financial services or government customers that require on-premise, you have that option as well. And our government team is very engaged with showing this to agencies. Let's see, how many documents per doc type does the AI need to learn properly? Andreas, 0. The current technology, it's real time. So when you send a document in, the AI looks at it. There's no pre-configuration, no training up front to extract data of interest. Let's see. Are you able to parse email and attachments? Gail, yes, we have a full email ingestion engine where we can bring those in. We can bring just the attachment. We can bring the the body of the email as a TIFF into the system, so we do have the ability to do that. Scott asks, when will this version be available to the public? We're just starting to implement, and we have to make all the templates. Scott, it'll be out in the next release, which right now is scheduled for May. Has this been tested on engineering drawings? John, have you tried it on any engineering drawings?
It's funny. It's good timing. I'm actually in the process right now of doing some testing. So working on a project. We're actually trying to grab some of the information from some different drawings. So I will report back. I don't have any findings yet.
Yeah, Joshua, when you get the follow-up email, we can definitely talk about that and let you know the results.
Yeah, actually,
I presume you can train with. Go ahead, John.
Sorry, Josh. I'll throw my email in the chat, and you know, feel free to reach out directly, and we can chat about that.
Let's see. Does it require a specific license? No. This is included with Core Transact. So you've got the ability, every customer and every partner that implements will have the ability to use it. You just have to be on the latest version. When will table prediction be handled? We'll have to come back to you on that, Rachel. Product is, they've got it implemented in the engine. It's just how they're going to implement it in Transact. And we can contact you and get you some info on that. Let's see. John, do you know which module? It's its own separate module. Sid here is asking, in which module would the plugin go?
Right. So it's actually, it will be considered an extraction plugin. So it will go in the extraction module.
Okay, and you can choose to turn it on or leave it off, right?
Yep,
It doesn't matter.
exactly. And there's some advanced functionality, which I didn't show today, but within the plugin itself, you can also kind of do some weighting and also kind of define which documents you want the Semantik AI Engine to sort of be enabled for. So you can pick and choose. It's not an all or nothing. And then you can also choose what happens if a field that has already been defined has some data that's found by the Semantik engine as well. So a lot of different options there.
Okay. Let's see.
Steve, I've got one here.
Is it necessary to? Oh, go ahead, John. Yeah.
Miguel is asking if the engine helps with document paging. In other words, how does it know when a document ends? That's a great question. So we can still use our classification models that we're using today. So you can use things like keyword classification, search classification, multidimensional classification, et cetera. And then using our document assembler plugin, that's essentially how these documents will be separated and classified.
I've got a question from Francisco. Is it necessary to have a blank form along with a filled-in form?
No, it's
John?
not. So the only reason that I showed that was again around our document design accelerator. So think of when you're building a brand new document in Transact, you have to train it. That's more from a classification perspective. So we always recommend training a document type with a blank document. So that's why I showed that. But by all means, for the actual kind of creation of the fields, it does not have to be blank. I just did that for classification purposes.
Let's see. So Lee asks, can you feed it a dictionary of key value headers per document type? We don't need to do that, right, John? It'll auto extract those and let you pick which ones you want, correct?
Exactly. Yep, that's right.
And Kishore, let's see, I'm trying to read this. How does this know what to pick from? He said, how will the system know what to pick from the invoice?
So
I'll let you talk a little bit about that then.
Yeah, so the computer vision model is looking at what it believes are entities or key value entities. So it's looking for essentially a layout where there is a kind of a key or a label for a piece of data, essentially. So that's the way that it's doing that. So if it does find some data on the page that it believes to have a key value pair, then it's going to go ahead and pick that up and then create a field from that model.
Okay. And then Lee says, can you refine the extracted fields? Lee, what happens in the background when the AI extracts all the fields and creates the key and value pairs, it also creates a basic rule in the background for extraction. So you can exclude the values you don't want and just leverage the fields that are there, and that rule will persist as long as you leave it there. But you can tweak that and enhance it. I don't know, anything to add to that, John, from a refinement perspective once you have your field?
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's an accelerator, and then you can always fine tune it as needed.
Yeah. And then another question, can the system support on-premise? The answer to that is absolutely. We have many government and banking customers where that was a requirement. So it does have the ability to support an on-prem implementation or a private cloud or whatever you have there. Let's see. Another question, what if there isn't a key to a value? What if you just have a value on a page? In that case, Rachel, you can actually use our core technology in Transact to extract that. So you can have you can auto build with AI, and then you have the ability to add additional fields that aren't tied to AI. So if there's a value, the pattern, you want to extract it, but you don't want to build a template, you can use our non-template extraction features just like you would on any other doc type without the AI builder. Anything to add on that, John?
Nope. I would have answered it exactly the same way, Steve.
Okay. All right, looks like we got another one. Okay, question about tables. I would have loved to shown it to you, but I don't like to show things that aren't in the product yet. But Kamal, we do have an online portal where you can actually test tables, and we'll send you a follow up and give you a link to that. You can play around with it. It's in its early beta stages, but we've had some really nice success with it, and it uses our themis table identification and extraction. I think it's called something new now, isn't it, John? It's T-Rex, or it's got a product on it with a new name, but it's our advanced table extraction model, and it's doing quite well in its early days. So we can get you a link and let you play around with it. Let's see. Anthony's got a question. John, are you able to extract data from Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, or Dropbox?
Yeah, we are. So there's a couple ways to do that. Again, Transact can monitor different folder paths and other kind of ingestion points. And so you could use sort of like a sync, for some of those utilities like Google Drive and Dropbox, et cetera. We can pull in directly from things like SharePoint or Box, through CMIS or through scripts. So we can ingest documents from those. There's a number of different ways to do it.
And then he had a follow-on question. Can the cloud version run on AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud? We can run on any of those. There's a number of ways that you can deploy into those environments, Anthony. We've got customers running in all different types of cloud environments. We host in AWS, so if you want a cloud instance with that we manage, it would be AWS. But you have the ability to take it and run it in your own cloud environment as well. All right. Kishore is asking when the documentation will be available. I think they're working on it now, aren't they, John?
They are, yeah. It'll come out with the release. So again, around the first week of May is when we'll have that documentation ready.
I think the question bank has dried up. If we missed you or you have a question, please respond when the follow-up email comes out, or you can talk to your partner manager or account manager or support customer or our customer team if you need more details. Got anything else, John?
Nope. I think that's it.
Well, fantastic. Thanks everyone. And like I said, if you want to participate in a preview program or early adopter program, we've got a link that was sent to the chat within the webinar, and we'll also send that along with the follow-up. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time.